In a move that no one saw coming, Princess Anne has reportedly blocked Queen Camilla from attending Prince William's coronation planning meetings. Behind the closed doors of the palace, tension has boiled over, and the monarchy now faces a split that could shatter its most carefully guarded hierarchy. What pushed Anne to draw the line? Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. The royal family, for all its tradition and protocol, was never prepared for this. What was supposed to be a seamless transition of power, William stepping forward with the full support of the monarchy, has become a battlefield of conflicting loyalties and quiet rebellion. Princess Anne, known for her stoic devotion to duty, made a move that no one expected. She used her authority not to support, but to block. Camilla, the queen consort, had been entirely removed from the planning conversations for the next crown. And it wasn't subtle. Palace aides confirmed that invitations, briefing documents, and strategic meetings had been flowing for weeks with Camilla's name nowhere to be found. What made it all the more stunning was the precision with which it was executed. William's inner circle acted decisively, following Anne's lead. Every document, every discussion, every piece of the coronation's foundation was shared among a tightly controlled Group 1 that reported directly to Anne and William. Sources say Camilla found out by accident when her own staff questioned why she hadn't been copied on a planning memo. The humiliation was immediate. According to those inside Clarence's house, she felt blindsided and betrayed not just by Anne, but by the entire system she thought she had been accepted into. The palace, true to form, said nothing. But within those ancient walls, the message was loud and clear. This wasn't about oversight, it was about exclusion. The firm had drawn a new line, and Camilla was standing on the outside. Some believe Anne was simply acting to protect William, shielding him from the complexities of royal tension. Others believe this was about something deeper, a battle over legacy, power, and who truly deserves a place at the table when the next crown is forged. Speculation erupted as news broke. Was this a result of Camilla's increasing overreach in the public sphere? Had Anne grown weary of her influence? Or was this an early sign that the monarchy, once ruled by quiet consensus, was now being shaped by forceful, unflinching hands? Either way, the atmosphere had shifted. The queen consort had been told without a single word that her presence was neither wanted nor needed. And in doing so, Anne may have triggered a new chapter in royal history, one written not in gold leaf and ceremony, but in confrontation and control. As whispers of betrayal swirl through Buckingham Palace, we must ask what was said behind those palace walls that led to this seismic confrontation. This wasn't spontaneous. For years, Princess Anne has harbored quiet reservations about Camilla's rise, and now, those doubts have exploded into action. But why now? And what history has led to this cold but calculated strike? Within royal circles, Anne has long been viewed as the unshakable spine of the monarchy, the iron-willed traditionalist, who has served without spectacle and endured without scandal. She's not flashy, and she doesn't chase headlines, but when she moves, the palace listens. And behind her composed exterior lies a deep, often overlooked tension that has been slowly simmering for decades. Her relationship with Camilla has never warmed. From the early days of Charles and Camilla's public reunion to her eventual ascension as queen consort, Anne has remained distant, guarded, and some say skeptical. Observers have often noted that while the rest of the royal family made efforts to publicly embrace Camilla, Anne rarely went beyond the bare minimum. No affectionate moments, no shared initiatives, just a mutual acknowledgement, and very little more. That aloofness was not born of pettiness. It was rooted in principle. Anne believes in hierarchy, in the merit of service over sentiment, and above all in earning one's place. Camilla's rise, fueled by marriage and media rehabilitation, was always viewed by Anne as unearned elevation. A palace source recalled a private moment where Anne, after an event at Balmoral, remarked to a confidante, "Some wear the crown for duty, others wear it for optics." Though never naming Camilla, the implication was undeniable. That mindset only grew stronger once Charles became king and Camilla's influence began to surge. She began asserting more presence in protocol discussions, taking initiative in public appearances, and most troubling to Anne, seeming to rewrite her place in the royal script. It wasn't just the public moments either. Behind the scenes, tension flared. During at least two state events, palace aides report that Anne stepped in when Camilla attempted to lead parts of ceremonial proceedings. One particularly heated moment occurred during a diplomatic reception, when Anne reportedly cut Camilla off mid-discussion with a foreign envoy and redirected the conversation herself. It wasn't about dominance, it was about boundaries. And privately, Anne had begun warning William. She cautioned him that Camilla's increasing boldness was blurring the line between symbolic presence and strategic interference. Anne feared that if unchecked, it could disrupt the very balance of power the monarchy depended on. That warning became a turning point. Though unconfirmed, royal insiders now believe that Anne's conversations with William planted the earliest seeds of Camilla's exclusion from the coronation planning. It was less about personal dislike and more about structural preservation. Anne saw Camilla's growing role not as a support to the throne but as a challenge to it. And with William preparing to step into a future already fraught with modern complexities, Anne chose to shield that future with an act of silent defiance, calculated with cold precision. But what Anne saw coming, William may have already feared, and a chilling private exchange between him and Camilla just weeks ago proves it. A source close to Prince William reveals a confidential moment that changed everything: a private meeting with Camilla, where the future king allegedly issued a firm boundary, only to be met with cold defiance. The atmosphere between William and Camilla had been strained for some time, but it was during a private sit-down at Clarence House that long-brewing tensions finally broke the surface. William, ever the diplomat in public, had reached a breaking point behind closed doors. He had watched Camilla step further into ceremonial spaces, speak with growing authority on matters traditionally reserved for the reigning monarch, and appear in moments he felt belonged to the future, not the past. His discomfort was no longer a matter of internal conflict, it was becoming a constitutional concern. So he requested the meeting, not as a son-in-law, but as the Prince of Wales preparing for his own coronation. It was meant to be a conversation, a plea for boundaries. It became a clash of wills. According to the source, William addressed Camilla directly and respectfully. He explained that with coronation planning now underway, he needed space to define his reign, space to lead, and space unshadowed by a stepmother whose presence, while once necessary, had begun to feel intrusive. He asked that she not attend key preparatory meetings, particularly those involving symbolic and ceremonial design. He didn't accuse. He didn't shame. He simply asked her to step back. But Camilla did not take it lightly. She reportedly smiled, and with a tone that carried both amusement and bite, said, "It's all symbolic tradition, darling. Nothing more." It wasn't just dismissal, it was denial. Denial of the weight William was trying to carry. Denial of the moment that was no longer hers. That's when William, uncharacteristically sharp, replied with a line that now echoes through palace corridors. "This is not your crown to shape." It landed like thunder. No raised voices followed. Just a heavy pause and then, according to the insider, a quiet departure. William didn't wait for her rebuttal. He had made up his mind. The very next day, he met privately with Princess Anne. The timing was no coincidence. The conversation with Camilla had clarified everything. This was not about personal grievances anymore. It was about control, perception, and legacy. With Anne's full agreement, the decision was made: Camilla would be excluded from all further coronation planning. But they didn't inform her. Not immediately. The choice was strategic. Quietly, agendas were amended, guest lists adjusted, and correspondence rerouted. Meetings went on without her. The palace, a fortress of unspoken rules, adapted with chilling efficiency. It wasn't rebellion. It was realignment. William had drawn the line and Anne had fortified it. But while Anne and William acted with discretion, Camilla was not prepared to be sidelined, and when she found out, her response was anything but silent. Sources claim Queen Camilla erupted when she discovered her exclusion, shouting, "I am queen," inside Clarence House. But this wasn't just about dignity, it was about power, legacy, and the looming fear of being erased. The news didn't come through formal channels. It arrived by accident, a small update on a staff calendar that had been overlooked. A brief line noting a meeting involving coronation planning at Kensington Palace. Camilla's name wasn't on the list. At first, her team thought it was a clerical error. But as they reached out and were met with silence, the truth began to sink in. She had not been informed because she had not been invited. Panic spread within her inner circle. Advisors urged restraint, suggested discretion, but Camilla's fury boiled past diplomacy. This wasn't just about a meeting. It was about what it signaled that her voice no longer held weight where it mattered most. And she was not about to be cast aside without a fight. Fueled by betrayal, she reportedly stormed into a private sitting room where Charles was reviewing state briefings. The doors closed behind her, and for several long minutes, Clarence House echoed with a conversation that would never be officially acknowledged. "They cannot treat me like a guest," she is said to have cried, voice sharp with disbelief. But Charles, caught between the two worlds he straddled, devoted husband and reigning monarch, offered no clear defense. He didn't argue, but he didn't intervene. His silence, far more cutting than any words, left Camilla with a truth she could no longer deny. His loyalty, in that moment, lay with his son. It was a realization Camilla had not anticipated. For years she had risen through the ranks, redefining her place in the monarchy with quiet cunning and public charm. But now, the same walls that had once sheltered her had shifted, and she was standing alone in the cold. Still, she would not retreat quietly. Behind closed doors, she began mobilizing her team. The mood changed from damage control to retaliation. Plans were floated: exclusive interviews, subtle leaks, carefully timed public appearances designed to remind the nation who she was, what she represented, and why she mattered. A counter-strategy, crafted not to expose the fracture, but to reclaim her influence within it. But even as Camilla scrambled to reassert her power, the reality was undeniable. William's coronation plans were already taking shape without her. The circle had closed. Decisions were being made, alliances formed, and the narrative once so carefully shaped to include her was being rewritten without her consent. The blow wasn't just personal, it was strategic. Because in royal warfare, visibility is everything. And Camilla, for the first time since ascending the throne beside Charles, was watching herself fade from the frame. But Camilla's fight for relevance would hit another wall because William's plans were already well underway, and someone had taken her place at his side. While Camilla fought to hold her position, Catherine, Princess of Wales, quietly stepped into her rightful place beside William, offering strength, vision, and a legacy deeply rooted in the people's trust. As the noise around Camilla's exclusion grew louder behind closed doors, another figure was commanding attention, without uttering a word. Catherine had never demanded space, she simply occupied it with quiet power. While others competed for influence, she earned it through grace and precision. According to senior palace staff, Catherine's presence at William's early coronation meetings wasn't performative, it was pivotal. From the outset, she contributed ideas that shaped the very tone of the ceremony. Her focus wasn't on tradition for tradition's sake, but on resonance, on making the moment matter for a new generation. It was her who proposed integrating youth voices into the coronation procession. It was her who suggested a tribute to Queen Elizabeth II that blended tradition with forward-looking purpose. And it was her demeanor, so unassuming yet unshakable, that earned the respect of every advisor in the room. Unlike Camilla, whose moves had become increasingly visible and increasingly questioned, Catherine operated with a quiet rhythm that drew no resistance. Her influence wasn't declared. It was felt. Aides described her as deliberate, reflective, and entirely in sync with William. They communicated not with hierarchy, but with partnership. One insider noted that where William projected strength, Catherine provided stability, and that dual force was now shaping the coronation in ways few had expected. There was no fanfare around her rise, no spotlight, just steady, consistent presence. The palace didn't need to announce her role. The country already understood it. The public, long wearied by scandal and dissonance, found something grounding in Catherine's ascendancy. Her image, polished but relatable, struck a rare balance: duty without ego, elegance without intrusion. Polling data quietly confirmed what palace advisors had sensed. The people were responding. Not to titles, not to lineage, but to authenticity. And in that authenticity, Catherine was becoming something Camilla never truly managed to be: the embodiment of royal trust. What made it more poignant was that Catherine never sought to displace anyone. She wasn't a rival to Camilla. She was simply a reflection of the monarchy's future, and perhaps a reminder of its past. In the subtle shifts of power occurring behind palace gates, it became clear to everyone involved. The future queen wasn't waiting to be crowned. She was already acting like one. But just as William's vision seemed to take hold, a secret meeting took place, one that could unravel everything the firm had tried to conceal. In a quiet corner of Windsor, King Charles summoned Princess Anne for a meeting that sources describe as tense, hushed, and painfully personal. But what he said, and what she refused, could change the royal bloodline's course forever. The conversation began with civility, but the weight behind it was anything but gentle. Charles, facing mounting pressure from Camilla, sought to reclaim control, specifically to undo the quiet but powerful move Anne had made by excluding Camilla from William's coronation planning. It was, to Camilla, an unforgivable blow, and to Charles, a threat to the delicate structure of family loyalty he had worked so hard to repair. But Anne had not come to Windsor to reverse herself. She came, as she always had, to defend the crown. Charles pleaded the case as a husband, one who believed his wife had earned her place, had walked the path of rehabilitation, and now deserved the seat she had finally reached. "She is my wife," he reportedly said, his voice tinged with both sorrow and insistence. It wasn't just a statement, it was a plea. Anne did not raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her answer was as immovable as the walls around them. "He is our future," she said. That sentence ended the debate. There was no counterpoint Charles could offer, because in that single line, Anne reminded him of the one truth neither love nor loyalty could override: the monarchy belongs not to the past, but to what's coming next. Charles, aging and increasingly aware of the narrowing tunnel ahead of him, sat in silence. He had not only failed to sway Anne, he had confirmed to himself just how limited his reach now was. Camilla had once been his greatest comfort. Now she had become a point of fracture within his own bloodline. The silence between them thickened as the conversation stalled. Charles by then must have known he wouldn't win this one. Anne stood not as a sister, but as a sentinel, unmoved, unapologetic. And when the moment passed, she rose, nodded, and left without another word. There was no statement, no public reconciliation, no attempt to bridge the gap. The meeting was over, and with it, any illusion that unity behind palace walls still existed. What remained was a storm, one that would not play out on front pages, but in the slow, deliberate maneuverings of the firm. Anne had made her stand. William had made his choice. And Charles, despite his title, was beginning to grasp the harsh truth of power within the monarchy. It is not inherited forever. It is loaned by tradition, guarded by blood, and reshaped by those willing to protect its meaning no matter the cost. And as tensions reached their boiling point, a carefully crafted palace statement was prepared, but what it didn't say was louder than what it did. The palace finally spoke, but said nothing. A public statement downplayed the internal feud, but behind its calm veneer lay chaos, division, and a power play threatening to crack the monarchy's foundation. The announcement was short, polished, and devoid of specifics, just as the firm intended. Released quietly on the official royal channels, it referenced ongoing coordination between senior royals in support of the Prince of Wales. No names. No details. And most notably, no mention of Queen Camilla. The phrasing, while diplomatic on the surface, was instantly dissected by royal commentators and media analysts. The line in support of the Prince of Wales became the focal point of every headline. In the world of royal language, omission is as potent as declaration, and Camilla's absence was deafening. To those paying attention, it was confirmation. The Queen Consort had been formally sidelined, and the institution wasn't going to explain why. Inside the palace, the mood was anything but composed. Internal memos circulated with urgent instructions to stay on message. Staffers were briefed not to engage with reporters, to deny knowledge of planning meetings, and to avoid using Camilla's name in any context related to the coronation. It was a full containment operation, one designed to minimize fallout, control optics, and preserve the illusion of unity. But illusions only work when the cracks are hidden, and in this case, the fractures had already bled into public view. Camilla's team, blindsided once again, reportedly felt betrayed. Not only had she been excluded from the process, she was now being erased from the conversation entirely. One insider close to her inner circle described the atmosphere as boiling, with whispers of retaliation swirling behind closed doors. Some advised her to speak out. Others urged her to stay silent, preserve dignity, and wait for a public role to be restored. But for Camilla, the damage was already done. She hadn't just been cut off, she had been made invisible. And in a monarchy where perception equals power, invisibility is exile. The statement that was supposed to calm the storm only stirred deeper questions. Who exactly was orchestrating the message? Had King Charles signed off on the phrasing? Was this William asserting his voice more forcefully behind the curtain? Or had Anne's influence grown to the point where even the language of the crown now mirrored her resolve? Journalists began to question what the monarchy would look like after the coronation, not just in terms of leadership, but in structure. Had the balance of power shifted so dramatically that Camilla's reign was symbolic in name only? Speculation ignited across international press. The public, once apathetic to royal infighting, now leaned in with fascination. Because this wasn't a scandal born from tabloids or family drama, it was a strategic chess game being played on a global stage. And as the players moved in silence, the stakes became impossible to ignore. Behind every polished word and every missing detail, the truth was screaming through the spaces in between. The monarchy was at war with itself, and the world was watching the carefully guarded mask slip. But even as the palace tried to patch the cracks, a leak from inside revealed the full extent of the rift, and it involved a letter no one was supposed to see. In a shocking twist, a letter penned by Princess Anne surfaced intended for no one but her brother. It was never meant for public eyes. But its contents struck at the heart of everything the royal family claims to protect. Weeks before Camilla was officially sidelined from William's coronation planning, Anne had put pen to paper in an uncharacteristically emotional plea to Charles. The letter, written in her distinct formal tone, laid bare a raw and haunting truth. The monarchy was drifting from its core. In it, she wrote of the unbearable weight that tradition carried not just for those who bore it, but for the future it was supposed to serve. She spoke not from resentment or rivalry, but from deep concern, warning that without restraint, the institution could devolve into what she chillingly described as a pageant of contradiction. She didn't name Camilla directly, but the implication was unmistakable. She described the danger of perception, the erosion of trust that came when personal relationships began to overtake national duty. Anne's words were unflinching. She called William the last spine of tradition with vision, a powerful phrase that signaled not just her faith in him, but her belief that the survival of the crown now depended on his judgment. She urged Charles, not as his sister, but as a guardian of monarchy, to let go for the crown to survive. It wasn't an attack, it was a warning. A final attempt to persuade him before the course was locked. She acknowledged the toll it would take, the personal pain it might inflict, but she made one thing clear: preservation of legacy must come before comfort. The leak of the letter was never intended. Whether it was a quiet rebellion from within the palace or a strategic slip by someone desperate to sway public favor remains unknown. But once it reached the public, the consequences were immediate. Senior royals were stunned not at Anne's sentiments, which many had long suspected, but at their precision and timing. The words, stripped of royal polish, landed like thunder. Suddenly, it wasn't just about who had been excluded. It was about who had chosen to speak and why. And within the firm, a shift began. Anne, often underestimated due to her silence, had now emerged as the moral compass of the institution. Privately, many rallied behind her. They couldn't say it aloud. But they didn't need to. The letter said everything. In just a few pages, Anne reframed the narrative. This was not about Camilla being cast aside. It was about the monarchy finally choosing clarity over chaos, order over optics, tradition over turbulence. And as the dust begins to settle, one truth rises from the chaos: Camilla's role in the next chapter may not just be diminished. It may be over. The royal family is no stranger to scandal. But this time, the fracture wasn't caused by outsiders. It was forged from within. And in the ashes of the clash between Anne and Camilla, a new era has begun, one defined by William and Catherine. What was once whispered as speculation has now emerged as the quiet truth behind the palace walls. William's coronation, once seen as the inevitable next step in a centuries-old sequence, has transformed into something far more symbolic, a generational rebirth. No longer merely the ascension of a monarch, it has become the restoration of a vision long thought lost, one of service, restraint, and earned reverence. The shift is not subtle. Camilla, who once stood poised to shape the visual narrative of the new reign, has now been carefully moved to the periphery. Her role, according to those closest to the preparations, has been reduced to ceremonial observance. She will walk, wave, smile, but she will not influence. Instead, it is Anne who remains closest to William's side, not in public display, but in private council. She has become the firm hand behind the throne, not a ruler, but a guardian. Her guidance has shaped not just the removal of distractions, but the formation of a principled foundation, one that reflects duty over decorum. And then there is Catherine, long admired, but never loudly assertive. She has emerged as the de facto queen in waiting, not just by marriage, but by movement. Every step she takes alongside William is purposeful. Her voice, once quiet, now echoes in planning chambers, charity boardrooms, and public imagination. Together they offer what many feared was gone, a monarchy that understands both its limits and its legacy. The response from the public has been swift and stunning. Trust in the institution, which had faltered under the weight of repeated controversies, has seen a sudden and dramatic surge. For the first time in years, approval ratings have spiked, not because of speeches or campaigns, but because of what people see: conviction without noise, unity without arrogance. The monarchy has begun to feel less like a relic and more like a compass. And that change didn't come from press releases or PR strategists. It came from the decision to choose clarity over confusion, courage over comfort. The firm, once a fortress of tradition and hierarchy, now stands as something more fluid, redefined by those who've earned their place, not inherited it. The battle wasn't about removing Camilla for the sake of power. It was about preserving the integrity of the crown. And in doing so, Anne, William, and Catherine have shifted the monarchy from survival mode to something even rarer: relevance. Because in this monarchy, tradition is sacred, but survival demands change. And this time, the change came from within. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.